Thank you for coming back to thegraywoods.com. This is author J. Carson Rose here. I don't know, people want to know, I guess, who wrote the book. I'd rather that you focus on the book, but, you know, I've been asked to do this, so I'm going to do it. One of the inspirations from the book was actually from a dream I had, and I hate to even be that corny about it. Actually, let's just throw it out there. This motorcycle gang, two gangs that were fighting each other. Yeah, the book's not about that. And all of a sudden, this woman, who's sort of another version of me, I knew that it was me. It was from my perspective, and she was like an angel. Go figure. She stopped everyone in their tracks because who's this crazy lady in this white dress? And she hugs one of the guys and embraces him, and the hug is this really sort of deep, compassionate hug that just fills this guy with love like he's never known. He's only ever known, you know, this gang and these wars and killing and loss, losing his brothers in the process. And she heals that feeling, heals all of that pain inside of his soul so deeply. And she says, remember this feeling because it's a gift and take it with you. And so the birth of the concept of aiming came from that dream. I went to Bennington College. Spent 4 years in Vermont, beautiful state, wonderful place, and I think that's sort of where the beginnings of the writing came from. I had studied comedy and acting anyway in my entire school career, even from being a kid, and then I went to vocational school during high school and took acting and focused on improv, like sketch comedy. And improv was the whole thing, just kind of on the fly, being able to be funny. So one of the other really important things to note about me is there are buttons on my sleeves. My writing process is pretty simple. I lock myself in my bedroom for, I don't know, 9 to 14 hours a day. And I'm not allowed out until I produce a chapter. That's pretty hardcore, but yes, some people have a routine. They exercise, they have coffee, they have to do all this stuff to get ready, and I literally open my eyes and I'm going, Finn, Medros, Aimeen, what are they doing right now? And I just record it. It's also important to show people when you have something as useless as buttons on your sleeves, especially in a video that's going to go on your website to promote your book. For example, I think just watching a TV show about how the Mayans, or was it the Aztecs, human sacrifice. I mean, wow, who would do that? What would the circumstances be? I mean, it was so interesting to me why they would even think this is okay. And sometimes people would volunteer and go, yeah, you can cut my guts out. I think that's great. And why would they do that? So I actually ended up writing a scene, a human sacrifice, a voluntary human sacrifice, which is actually chapter 21 in The Gray Woods. So it's just interesting. I just wrote this thing to sort of explore the world around me. It's how I take things in and interpret them. I sort of give these subjects to my characters and go, hey, what do you guys think about this? It's really important that you let people know who are watching that you know that you have useless buttons on your sleeves. I feel like one of the really unique things about my book is that it sort of reads like a screenplay where you have a lot more white on the page and there's a lot more what they do and what they say is more important than what they think or what they feel. And I had to sort of go back in and sort of say what people think and feel to make it more genuine. You can do that in a novel without overkill and without overly building the world or describing anything to death. I have a very short attention span, so I don't think that the book is too difficult to digest, and I have very short chapters for that reason. Because maybe you thought I didn't know, and you're going, why does she have those buttons on her sleeves? Like, what are you gonna button? So like other authors, I sort of spent a lot of time querying folks, and I got very, very close at one point. I had someone actually not only get very excited after reading the query, but request 5 chapters. And I thought, this is in the bag. I mean, she's gonna read 5 chapters and be like, I have to have this. And she didn't. She read 5 chapters and said, this is not for me. But at that point I got angry, which is my first reaction to disappointment. I'm not like, oh no. I go like, you know what? I'll do it myself. And that was sort of what happened. I ended up doing some research on self-publishing and finding out I keep all the creative control. I get to sort of be the boss. I mean, how else would you have it? It's important to have buttons on your sleeves. That's not true. One of the things that I think about quite often that actually really inspires me is actually something Jim Carrey said when he was speaking at one of the colleges. He basically said, you know, his father always wanted to be a comedian, and he ended up being an accountant and taking the safe route, you know, getting a real job so he could support his family and pay his bills. I mean, we're slave to paying bills. But then he ended up getting laid off, or he lost his job. And so the quote was that you can fail at what you don't want. I mean, wow. So why don't you try to get what you do want? And that speaks volumes to me. It's like, yeah, I'm very inspired by people like J.K. Rowling, who jokingly says she has boxes of rejection boxes of rejection letters. They are contributing to language, to tradition, to our literary history, and making a comment on their own exploration of humanity and human nature, and what that means when you put 2 people in a room. What happens? You have a story. Do they hate each other? Do they love each other? I mean, that's it. We do that every day. So writers sort of are able to get in there and fictionalize now what happens to these people, but in fiction you're mimicking life, and in some way you're inspiring life, because you're showing people what we can be, for good or bad, what we can do. And I really appreciate being part of that, and having the power and the self-confidence to be able to contribute to that, contribute this to that. I'm done.